The budget sell is well underway, but one promised defence project is still proving too contentious to touch. Jonathan Lee reports from Fremantle.
It's hard to imagine, but in World War II, Fremantle hosted the largest and most important submarine base in the Southern Hemisphere. Currently, Australia has one submarine base, HMAS Sterling. It's actually a little that way. But as part of AUKUS, the nation needs a second submarine base somewhere on the east coast of Australia. But no one is yet brave enough to say where. It's a critical defence decision as the nation heads to a defining federal election that could be won or sunk on defence spending.
This is the causeway that connects mainland Australia with the country's most important naval base, HMAS Sterling. It's home to our Collins fleet and from 2027, a nest of nuclear subs and visiting maintenance ships. It makes for a lot of expensive eggs in one basket, says Michael Shoebridge.
If we have one submarine base, that's a single point of failure. And a single point of failure in a weapon system that's going to cost us $368 billion is unacceptable.
To house our future AUKUS fleet, Australia must have a second sub-base by the early 2040s. The defence expert, though, points to Perth's Optus Stadium and Sydney's second airport as examples of how decades can be lost.
The second Sydney airport, it's 40 years and counting. Well, it's not just a defence problem, this is an Australian political problem.
There are 3 potential sub-sites: Brisbane Port in Queensland, Newcastle Port in the Hunter north of Sydney, and Wollongong's Port Kembla south of the city.
Brisbane, it's got a very narrow channel into the port. That's bad for submarines. Newcastle is our major coal export port. The port is owned by the Chinese. Port Kembla is the ideal one. Very easy access to deep water straight away.
Nuclear bases are nuclear headaches for politicians. Currently, Newcastle and Wollongong ports are surrounded by Labor seats the government can't afford to upset, let alone lose. In the Hunter, there's Paterson, Newcastle and Shortland. In Wollongong, the seats of Cunningham and Whitlam. Former PM Scott Morrison recently told Sky News defence assets in the Hunter made Newcastle a good fit.
But I was always very attracted to the idea of the Hunter. I think it would be received well there.
But if Canberra wants Washington to sell us their subs, it's agreed we need to show President Trump we aren't drowning in shallow water on the cusp of an election.
There is very limited political will to take big strategic decisions that might cause even a little bit of electoral pain. And the East Coast base, a decision on the site and beginning of construction is the big classic thing that will show the Americans and the British that we're serious about AUKUS.
When the nation will go to the polls, only the Prime Minister knows. But as with defence, timing is everything.